courtroom froze in absolute silence when Judge Harold Pettin adjusted his glasses, leaned in, and said to the defendant in a steady, deliberate voice, "Miss Harrington, I believe we've met before, last time you were standing on my front, lawn holding a gas can." Her face went pale so quickly, I thought she might faint on the spot. Her attorney's mouth opened and closed like a fish out of water, but no words emerged. This was the moment I had waited 3 long months to see. It was even sweeter than I'd pictured. "I'm Daniel Pettin, my grandfather. Harold is 74, a retired Marine and a known to our neighborhoods. HOA district court judge who still steps in to handle cases now and then. We live in Pine Ridge Estates, a place where the phrase historic charm is the HOA's favorite sales pitch. Unless they decide a home doesn't fit their image. Grandpa's house was built in 1912 by his father. With hand-hewn beams, a wraparound porch, and weathered cedar siding that had withstood wars and storms alike. President Victoria Harrington. It was an eyesore she wanted, erased from her curated suburban landscape. The trouble began, slowly like water coming to a simmer, starting with petty fines for antiquated exterior materials, which Grandpa promptly tossed in the trash. Then came demands to swap his porch railings for vinyl. Accusations about a non-compliant roof pitch violating subsection 12.3 of their design code, and each notice grew nastier. Victoria's pen strokes became so aggressive it was as if she thought handwriting alone could scare a man who'd stared down. Enemy fire in Vietnam? Harold didn't take orders from anyone who wore a visor indoors and wielded a clipboard like a weapon. Soon, Victoria was on the property herself, prowling at dawn with her tape measure, taking photos from every angle and even measuring the grass with a ruler. One morning I caught her prying at the siding with her car keys, claiming she needed to test for lead paint. That's when Grandpa installed security cameras, which only fueled her spite. Certified letters arrived daily, each more unhinged, threatening lawsuits, demolition, and even branding the home a public health risk. She began organizing Saturday. Protests outside, her HOA loyalists chanting, "Preserve Pine Ridge standards, demolish the derelict." While Harold sat on the porch, sipping coffee and waving at passersby, she even hired an engineer to condemn the house, but he took one look at those beams and declared it sturdier than any vinyl box in town. Then her expression changed, shifting from smug bullying to something darker. That August, the smoke alarms jolted me awake at 2:37 a.m. through my window. I saw flames climbing the porch, racing across the cedar like kindling. I bolted barefoot across the lawn, yelling for Grandpa. He emerged just as the porch roof caved in behind him, his face lit by the inferno devouring over a century of family history. The fire department arrived quickly, but by dawn, only a skeleton of charred beams remained. Thanks to our neighbor, Robert's new security system installed after his own run-ins with Victoria, we had crystal-clear video. At 11:43 p.m., 3 hooded figures approached with red gas cans. The confident stride and designer sneakers were unmistakably. Victoria's footage showed them soaking the porch before Victoria lit the match, her smirk visible even in the shadows. Traffic cams caught her white SUV leaving minutes before the blaze was spotted. She was arrested 3 days later, right in the middle of an HOA meeting where she was proposing mailbox height regulations. The officers entered as she lectured about uniform standards. The irony was delicious. She shouted about being framed, blaming Harold for burning his own home. Her accomplices, board members Susan Blackwood and Thomas Chun, were arrested that same evening, charged with first-degree arson, conspiracy, and criminal mischief. Victoria's lawyer opted for a bench trial, betting a judge would be kinder than a jury. The case went to a rotating visiting judge, and no one knew who it would be until trial morning. That day I sat in the front row. Victoria wore her best navy suit, posture perfect, head shaking sadly like she was the real victim. Then the bailiff's voice boomed, "All rise for the Honorable Judge Harold Pettin." Grandpa strode in, robe flowing, every inch the Marine. Victoria's smugness melted in 3 seconds, flat confidence to confusion to terror. She clawed at her lawyer's arm, whispering urgently. He stood, voice cracking, to request Harold's recusal. Harold calmly replied, "Counselor, I've reviewed the file. The property burned belonged to my son, not me. But I can remain impartial." The prosecution dismantled her defense piece by piece. Security footage, the text messages calling it Operation Clean Sweep, HOA emails showing her escalating obsession, even handwritten notes with sketches of the house marked with red X's and "burn it down" in the margins. Her lawyer claimed it was metaphorical, but no one bought it. Victoria took the stand, spinning a story about spontaneous cedar combustion and insisting the gas cans were car cleaning. Solution she always carried. The prosecutor asked why 3 people had to sneak it onto someone else's porch at midnight. She broke into tears, claiming persecution for caring too much. The footage of her laughing as she left the scene erased any sympathy. Witness. After a witness described her as a petty tyrant, a woman who measured lawns and fined widows over paint shades, even her allies seemed relieved to see her on trial. For 3 days, Harold heard every argument, his composure unshakable. At one point, Victoria accused him of hypnotizing her into committing arson. Her lawyer put his head in his hands. The case closed. Harold took just 15 minutes before returning with his verdict. "Miss Harrington, the evidence is overwhelming. Your defense insults this court's intelligence. I find you guilty on all counts." Victoria collapsed, wailing, as Harold continued. "You will pay $850,000 in restitution. Serve 8 years in state prison parole possible after 5 and you are permanently banned from holding any HOA position." The gavel cracked like a gunshot. As deputies dragged her away, she shrieked about conspiracies and the chaos without my leadership. Her accomplices, having pled guilty, got 2 years each in the same HOA ban, just before the doors shut. Victoria screamed, "Your grandfather's house was a blight," and then she was gone. Do like, subscribe for more stories.